Hello YouTube, Robin Hood Bricks here, and today I'm going to do a bit of work on my deep sea cabinet, 20,000 bricks under the sea. And I always like to get the bigger constituent parts in first, before I do all of the rock detail and so on. So I figured that I should design something for the middle of this section here. We've got a base on this side and a base on this side, but I think what we really need is something a bit more perilous, because it looks all too safe at the moment. So that's where this guy comes in. Om nom 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 nom. Yep, when you want a shark to do a wonderfully terrifying job, then accept no substitute. Go for the Sharkinator, the wonderful mechanical remote-controlled shark, currently being controlled by Robin here, from 70172, Antimatter's Portal Hideout from 2015, which is just perfect with his sort of metal-plated head, his sort of dead purple eyes and his gold teeth, with a mouth that's big enough to fit a whole minifigure inside his belly. So I absolutely adore that. So this was donated to the channel by a very generous subscriber, and you know, I really need to use this in the most prominent position I possibly can, and there's no bigger shark available to use in this position, or is there actually? There's this one, which is the headpiece that's printed from the Tiger Shark Attack set, 7773 from 2007. That's an Aqua Raiders one. I could build a whole brick built shark to be even bigger, but I don't think I'm going to. Though I do plan to use this kind of submerged in the sand, kind of exactly like it is on my desk right now, with maybe a submarine above, like he's buried himself and disguised himself as a rock so he could leap out and eat something later. But I'll probably do that on the lower floor. So for now, this is definitely the biggest shark that is available. And I want to do a fun scene with a poor diver being, well, attacked. And I thought if I could bring in some sort of play feature as well, that would make it even better. So I can't really have him just sort of going forwards and backwards like that. And I thought, what are sharks known for? Well, they're kind of known for circling their prey, aren't they? So I thought it'd be hilarious if this guy was basically circling this hapless diver, probably under remote control, maybe not from Robin, but from some evil diver, and well, scaring the wits out of this guy who would finally be eaten. But then it dawned on me that maybe the Sharkinator is not the best one to use here, because, well, wouldn't that be better if there were several Sharkinators all going around in a circle? Well, I looked at the current price and they were pricey when this one was donated, which is why it was so generous. And the price has gone from £63 for the cheapest one. What? To £82 for the most expensive of the 6 on Bricklink. And they're £120 on eBay. What? I know. So, yeah, I don't think we'll be buying any more of these. It's a great investment, though, if you did get one back in the day, because these seem to be doubling every couple of years, at least. So anyway, I will be using my Sharkinator somewhere else, possibly in a cabinet, possibly in a city. I'm still looking for the good opportunity for it, because the reason I don't want to use it here is because I figure it'll be a lot better with several sharks involved. And that's why I'm bringing in dun dun dun, the more regular version of these large sharks. So there's been actually 4 types. We've got the Sharkinator. There's been a more recent great white version of this with some colouring around the mouth on the recent Ocean Explorer ship 60266. There's also those sort of zombie ones that are got all their ribs showing and stuff like that are part of the Silent Mary 71042 from 2017. And we may see those lower down in the cabinet, because I got some of those with another gift to the channel of that Silent Mary wreck. But these ones are the originals. There was one set which was a pirate set that they came with, but they're more notoriously known from coming from the Agent set 8633 Speedboat Rescue from 2008. And that set has 2 of these in, so yes. And worse than that, another one was donated to the channel. So basically, I have got 3. So very spoilt here. I thought 3 would be the best number, because if you think about circling sharks, if you just had 2 sort of going around like that, yeah, it kind of looks like they're 2 opposite each other. It looks too sort of staged. And I figured 4 would look even worse because, well, they're all sort of all the compass points and it would kind of look really weird. But 3 somehow just looks a bit more natural. I mean, you can see that already. That if we have 3 in kind of a triangle around this diver, well, it looks absolutely terrifying. And each one can have his mouth open to a different position and be going around him while he's like literally filling his wetsuit. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Now, to make it even more Robin Hood Brixy, I thought, well, why have a normal shark when you could have a mechanically enhanced one? And if you looked at those pictures from the Speedboat Rescue set, you'll see that's exactly what they did. With the 2 sharks that came in that set, they basically had weapons attached to their backs. So one had flick fire missiles, which I've recreated here, so you could fire those off one by one. Maybe these are still under Robin's remote control, and they've got the antenna there as well. And the other one that came in that set had this sort of giant gun on it, like that, and they've all got the colouring of Dr. Inferno's lot, so they're probably the ones that should be controlling the remote control when Robin hands it over. But then we've got a third one to deal with, and what would be better than stealing from the movies and Austin Powers and Dr. Evil by having the third shark with a frickin' laser beam attached to the top of its head. Ooh, that would be good, wouldn't it? Because although this does look a bit like a laser beam, I'm not sure it really is. So I thought I'd take away all doubt and make my own, similarly themed with the colour scheme, laser beam. And there's no doubting that one because the beam's literally coming out of it. So I thought the third shark of my trio would be that one. And then we could have these 3 going around my hapless diver whose, well, days are numbered, it looks like, doesn't it? So, yeah, I think this is better than the Sharkinator. Still need a great place for this one. It's a similar theme now, so maybe he needs to go into the city and be part of Antimatter's warehouse scene or something like that. But this sounds like a really good idea. So now I need to think about the mechanics because ideally, I want these 3 going around, not on a motor, on a turn handle, and the diver to not be going around. Because if they're spinning, it doesn't really make much sense him spinning on the top, especially when he's underwater. So we're going to need something simple, but, well, also complicated, I guess. Good. Terrified diver, check. 3 heavily armed remote-controlled sharks, check. Right, I think we need to get on with the mechanism that's got 3 arms to hold everything up. And the pieces that I'm going to be using for that are these transparent clear lift arms, Technic lift arms. That's because, well, you can't see them, can you? They're completely so transparent that you probably can't even see that there's a piece held up against my hand or the desk. Yep, impossible to even see, and that's why I want it as part of this mechanism. Well, no, not really, but it would be better than a grey or a black one or something like that, so it's as good as we can get. And I need a way of attaching 3 of these together in kind of a triangle like this that can spin with 1 on each end and a diver in the middle. And this was my first attempt because I had these from that ocean exploration submarine set that a couple of people sent in as well. Well, I'm really using all of your gifts today, aren't I? 60264 from 2020, which had one of these on the kind of fish in the rock bit that sort of would pop in and pop out. So getting 3 of them onto one of these propeller pieces and the inverse, just to give it some strength, would work really well. But wow, that is quite a long span, and my cabinet isn't that huge. If you've got a shark on the edge of each of these, it's going to take up an absolute sort of dustbin lid size sort of area inside of my cabinet. So maybe that's not great. But I do need it to split 3 ways, and a lot of other Technic pieces are either sort of 4 ways or 2 ways or whatever. So there aren't many ways to choose from. So a second way was to use these pulley wheels that've got the 6 holes in, so I could attach 3 like that and have them coming off slightly at angles, which would bring in the dimensions just a little bit, but it's still very big, so that isn't too good. And also it's got the Technic axle hole in the middle, so how am I going to keep the diver stationary when the whole mechanism is going around? I need something with a hole on the inside and to bring in the dimensions. So that's when I started ordering the only other different type of transparent clear lift arm over recent hauls. And this is part 32009 if you're interested. the bent thick 1x11.5 lift arm, to be precise, and that just brings in that distance, quite a bit more, and that will make it manageable in size terms. But again, I need another solution so the whole thing doesn't rotate with the diver. So I started looking at pulley wheels that would have a normal hole in the middle, but then how am I going to attach 3 things to a flower gear? Or maybe this one, it's got the hole in the middle, but again, attaching something 3 ways to that's going to be difficult. Or this one that somebody gifted me again. No, I haven't found a use for that because, well, how am I going to attach something 3 ways to that? And then I came across the absolute perfect piece. This one, or more precisely, this one that I just got in dark bluish grey, which is similar but actually different, has got 6 holes around the kind of outside, and most importantly, a non-axle hole, but an open hole in the middle. And that means that I can attach kind of 3 of these lift arms kind of like that at the bent angle and still have a hole for an axle to go in and not be turned when this is turning. So that is what I decided to use. So that is when I've spent hours basically on my desk coming up with a mechanism that uses all sorts of different ways of propulsion that will cater for this 3-way setup. And this is what I've come up with. So I just need to add this 3rd one back in to here, and you will see, if I can get it in, it's very sort of tight, and there we go. Oh, no, but that needs to go in there. Let's see. Well, I'm having a bit of trouble lining everything up, but that will probably help me show off the bottom bit in a minute. Anyway, so I've got this grey piece with 3 of these arms staggered round in this kind of Catherine wheel type setup, and each one of those on the other end can have one of these pieces, which is 2x2 on the top and modified so it's got 2 pinholes, or rather pins on the bottom, and that can go on the end of the arm for attaching a shark. Then these are all very securely attached with 2 pins each. They aren't going anywhere. And then on the underside of this, I've used the really long versions of these, whatever they're called, to pin in the top, go through the middle, and come out the bottom with kind of one of these globe light pieces on. And that is what a mechanical gear on the other side is going to be sort of pushing around when I turn a handle, you see what I mean? So it's going to be going like that, and a wheel going this way, is going to hit each one of those in turn and turn the whole thing around. If only I could line this bit up to get it back in. That's how close the tolerances are. So yeah, I've tried all sorts of different ways to get this going, and I think this is the best one, because when I actually attach all of my sharks, may as well do that now, you'll see that they are quite close together. And that means that we've got a very sort of dense, sort of interesting scene that won't take up my entire cabinet. And then when I put the diver, it already looks good, doesn't it, on the middle, that will be going in the something mounted on an axle that won't be turning with the rest of the mechanism on the middle. He'll be kind of static there with all of these going around the outside. And we can have them with different mouths open and all the rest, looking very scary indeed. So I think that will be amazing. What do you think of that for a bit of a mock-up? Cool, right, so now we just need the bit that's going to turn some horizontal turning mechanism here into that rotation there. All right, well, it's almost like I've gone back to designing fairground rides, isn't it? Because this may look familiar to some of you. Essentially, I've used rainbow bricks because I'm going to be changing some of these when I incorporate it into the cabinet, and the other ones will be enclosed, so it won't really matter. But essentially, we've got the bottom of this having 3 of those dome pieces that are in a triangle. And what we need now is 3 pieces that will interlock with that on a vertical wheel, which are these. So that turning motion will push around each of those globes, and getting the right tolerance, so effectively they do hit every time, don't miss, and it can never sort of stutter, is quite difficult really. And I wanted a suitably positioned turn handle that you wouldn't necessarily notice in grey against a rock face. This will all be built into rocks much later, and that would power the whole thing. So essentially all that's going to be enclosed, and this bit will rest on that bit. So why don't I do that next and show you exactly what I mean. So imagine all of this is a big sort of rock, and you can't see any of the workings, and that's why this bit is in dark grey, because it'll be the only bit almost just showing from the top, just a real sliver of visibility there. And essentially I'll be turning this like that. Hey, now tell me if you don't think that looks funny. I think it looks great. It makes me smile and laugh, especially with all those weapons on and the laser beams. Dr. Evil will be very proud, and I'm sure Dr. Inferno, who actually does own this one, is very chuffed indeed. So yeah, so what is happening? Well, we've got the pulley wheel in there, and that's got just 3 of the holes utilised to have something on there that just turns and hits one of these every time. And you can see it's pretty smooth actually, even when it's done at an angle like this. So I think that's worked rather well. And getting all the spacing has been very important as well, because we want to, as I said earlier, hide all of the mechanism. So what I'm going to do, though this isn't the finished article by any means, is use some of these rather large burp pieces to go around the outside and kind of hide everything in there. I can even add another sort of Atlantis sort of stone here. All these colours won't be showing, and maybe just put that in for a bit of strength like that. So now you can't see most of it. This bit will be coming out right quite a long way away, because I think I'm going to have the handle not this close. I think the handle is going to be extended out by about this distance, so I can sort of turn it here and it will power it, so it'll be right in the middle of the cabinet, not right at the very front. And then I can use even more bits with sort of angles on and all sorts of stuff like that to really show the bare minimum of the mechanism, give no extra space more than we need to have that going into position. So you can see there, you can see that dark bluish grey. I can add even more sort of plant bits and I don't know, crabs or whatever all over this, but you can see that it's not vastly visible. And the most important factor that we haven't actually covered yet, if I turn it the right way, because sharks don't turn backwards, swim backwards, is that this axle in the middle is not rotating, and that's what's going to have our diver attached to it shortly, and that means that he will be in static position while they are doing all the circling, of course. Yes, that'll be great. Oh, looking forward to this. So here's a very quick mock-up of what it could be, just with some bricks just to act as a temporary sort of position. Actually, that's not going to work. Let's put them directly on there, maybe put that around it. That's just sort of representing a central bit of rock, and the illusion here is that this bit of rock is kind of attached to this bit of rock, and the very invisible lift arms can't be seen, so you can't tell the difference. So it all looks completely seamless, and then we can have our terrified hapless diver on here. Let's have him facing that way, and then we can look at it like this. And then he looks, ooh, let's put his mask fully down so we can see his terrified face. And then there it is working. Better than my focus is. Anyway, there we go. A terrified diver with 3 massive, heavily armed sharks circling him. And that looks absolutely great. So clearly I need to improve some of the visible sort of black and white bricks and so on that are showing. And I think when it's in my cabinet, I'll be having it this way because, as I say, the mechanism will be extended right out towards the front. But for now, I think you really get the idea of what I'm going for. So I won't dress all of this perfectly now because I don't know exactly where it's going in my cabinet. I mean, I do roughly, it'll be in the middle, sort of, well, middle really. But I don't want to do it with all of the slopes to get it integrated when I don't know what sides the bank's going to be at, because I think it's going to be mid-slope or something like that. But what I will do is maybe make a very nice looking plinth for him to stand on, because that looks a bit fake. It doesn't look very rocky, does it? So I think that's what I'll do next. And then we can work out who to hand the remote control to. Oh yes, I do like that. Now, another part of the idea when this is in final position is not to use a mechanical handle to do the turning, but to disguise that as well, and maybe use something like these beveled gears, which could be some sort of growth or, I don't know, coral piece or something like that to do the turning. So it'd be kind of hidden, or maybe just a piece of rock that you can turn as well. So whatever I do, I think it will be way out, sort of stretched out here and turnable, but very disguised. So that will be good. As for the bit of rock in the middle, I'm going to build something that obviously has to have a round brick in the middle because it will need to attach to the axle that's sticking out the top. But then I'm going to have a mechanism that has studs on absolutely every side, so I can attach loads of different rock pieces. And I'm going to disguise that round brick by having it hidden on all sides. So I've tried to use all sorts of different greys, like old light grey here, and different shapes as well. And I'm even going to have some plant pieces. There's old dark grey there on that bit of plate, and some life with a bit of plants and so on. So I can put that on that side, and that'll be kind of a backdrop to our man. So let's put our scared man on there as well. So he's sort of on the top of there. I might change the diving style so you can see his face a little better because his mask is hiding it, but it still looks good, doesn't it? And then on the front, even more different shaped pieces and a starfish as well. So if I put that on there, that's hidden all of the studs on that construction. It looks like a very sort of rocky and interesting top piece there, even with some plant life hanging off it. We can have that at all sorts of different angles. Then I can take the old bit off and put this one on, and then you can start to see how it'll look. So if this is slightly more pyramidal and slightly more detailed with loads of little bits on here, sort of making it look a lot more natural in keeping with the top section, then wouldn't that look quite seamless? I mean, you can see these totally invisible lift arms, but I don't think they detract from it too much. I mean, there's so much more shark than there is lift arm. It wouldn't have been quite as good with these ones, I don't think. But I don't think you can see it too badly. Yes, I think that looks really, really good fun. Now, I think we need to add a couple more details here. I mean, what's the point of having a shark with a mouth so big you can fit a whole diver in it if you don't put a whole diver in it? So that's what I'm going to do there. Get this guy's colleague. So now his face makes even more sense because he's panicked, not because there are loads of sharks that are heavily armed, but because, yes, they are eating divers, and there is the proof. Oh, I love that. So he can just go around with that diver sticking out, a tasty morsel, nom nom nom. But then the remote needs to go to somebody as well. And given that these aren't antimatter's sharks, like this one would have been, these are Dr. Inferno's sharks with the colouring here. I thought the best person to use was this guy, who's called Slimeface, who I've got attached to his little scooter at the moment, who, oh golly, he's left his arm behind. That's no good, is it? Or hand, rather. Who is the only sort of underwater baddie from that line, and he's very fantastic. He's got sort of a slimy face, as you'd expect with the name Slimeface. That's kind of dripping slime down the rest of his body, which is horrible, really. And he's got a very nice helmet that you can see all the way through. So that is absolutely great. He came in the set 8636 Deep Sea Quest from 2008, which is that one with the really nice glow-in-the-dark octopus in it as well. A very good set, and a nice submarine, and a nice surface ship as well. So that's the one I'm going to be using. So let's give him the remote, and he can be standing near his scooter as well to make a fast getaway if he's discovered by the goodies. So I think I'll have that sort of scene floating around kind of nearby to give a reason for why everything's happening the way it is. But I think that's a really good addition as well. So yeah, we'll have that on some transparent clear bricks sort of floating in midair near that. So, do tell me, what do you think of my Shark Mobile? I'm thinking it's kind of like the sort of thing you'd hang over a child's crib. Well, not very much like it after all, but it's kind of got the same action of going round and round in a circle. Maybe it needs some sort of nursery rhyme music to accompany it. Anyway, tell me what you think of that, if there's a way I can improve it. Obviously, it'll get improved when it gets integrated into my cabinet, but yeah, I'm really liking it, and it's a good excuse to get Slimeface involved. And here it is, roughly in the cabinet in position. I think that's where I'm going to put it. And it's a good contrast to all that yellow of the bases on either side. We'll have more bases going down onto different levels, but having a bit of a rocky outcrop with all these sharks going around it One diver eaten, another one, well, not far off popping his clogs or kicking the bucket, buying the farm, biting the dust, punching his ticket, giving up the ghost, riding into the sunset. Nope, that's all I've got. Anyway, yeah, that's a really fun scene, I think, and I'm really looking forward to having it the other way around, disguised properly, so I can do the handle and have those spinning around whenever I open the cabinet. I think it's better to do it manual than have it battery powered. Anyway, as always, do point out if you've got any improvements that you can make to this or suggestions for making it look even better. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. It is appreciated. Do remember to like, comment and subscribe for more awesome LEGO videos. And if you value this channel, there are many ways in which you can support it. Do check out the links in the description below. And next time on Robin Hood Bricks, we'll be doing something else fun, either in this cabinet or in the city, before another brick haul on Wednesday. And if you want to send something to the channel, as many people did in the creating of this construction today, you can by sending something to the usual P.O. Box address. So that will be very exciting to receive as well. Well, I do like Slime Face there. He's a nice little bright bit of neon and orange to contrast with everything around him. So yeah, I like that a great deal. Anyway, I'm going to keep spinning this for a bit because it's really quite good fun. And so until next time, see you. Nom 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 nom.